DC Multiverse!
Good day, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're having a look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Bane action figure. This is a character that no doubt if you're a Batman fan or a DC fan in general, period, you probably wanted. Bane is not only one of the most popular Bat villains, but one of the most popular and recognizable villains in the entire DC universe. How could he not be? He busted Batman's back, and then he chucked him off a building. This figure is massive. He's a titan. Look at him standing next to Batman and Batman. He's ginormous. But this figure really is cool looking. Compared to the previous Disappointment Bane that we got last time as the collect build that you couldn't even move his legs without the legs falling off. But this venom-infused tower of beefcake is pretty much, I think, something that most of us will be satisfied. It definitely hangs out very much in the area of being comic accurate. There are some things that are a little bit different, like the harness across his chest that's been designed to hold on to all that venom. Right here on his back, we have all of the venom and the juice that's going to get pumped into his veins in these canisters. And he is a beefy boy. Look at those big back pockets. This is a fantastically produced action figure. I really like the face sculpt for this Bane, the texture in the mask, the stitch lines. This is pretty much your classic looking Bane mask. Not exactly, but it definitely is good enough for me. And I don't think that there's ever a need to change the basic look of Bane's mask. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And this certainly is not a broken look. Look at the back of his head too. That's kind of neat. And right here we have the control panel for his venom injectors. I will say that's kind of lazy that the knuckles and the top of the hand were not painted flesh color under the glove, which actually goes for both hands. I wish that was actually painted. As for just how big he is, that size comparison, here he is with a bunch of the McFarlane Toys and DC Essentials versions of Batman Rogue's villains. I feel like he appropriately towers over the ones he's supposed to tower over, and, you know, he's comparable in size to the other larger characters like Man-Bat and Clayface and Killer Croc. And here he is with some different Bat Family characters. DC Essentials Batman, DC Direct Tim Drake Robin, and a Nightfall era Nightwing. I suppose before we go any further, we should take a look at the trading card that came with Bane. Yep, he looks like he's vomited a whole bunch of green stuff through his luchador mask. And the back has, of course, a data file bio for the character. You know the drill about pausing to read, so do that if you'd like to. Okay, so now it's about time we see exactly what this guy can and can't do as far as pose ability. What are we going to get from him? Wow. I keep trying to move the head thinking we're going to get more, but we are just not. I mean, he can look down pretty good. Probably can't see far past his gigantic bulbous man-booby pecs. You know, round and round, I suppose, and absolutely nothing for looking up. Well, that's a bit of a shame. No articulation at all in the torso, and I'm okay with that. Rather than breaking it up, you've got big rounded hinge in the armpit. You don't have that typical socket, which is cool with me. No bicep swivel either for Bane. None whatsoever. No articulation point there. It just jumps right down to the elbow. And will I be permitted to have 90 degrees? This is not quite. Not really. Well, that's kind of sucky. Very limited articulation. He does have articulation in the waist. Looking down is gonna be not a thing. Side to side, not really either. Back a little bit. So you're looking at a very limited articulation Bane in the upstairs above the waist department. Let's see what he's got down here. Well, that's good. Definitely can do the splats. I'm checking this right away. I'm curious. Oh, well, that's a pleasant surprise. That's actually more than I was expecting, so that's good. Okay, so the legs definitely get a really reasonable full range of motion. That's good. Then the knees, oh, crunch those bad boys, crunch them. Not bad. And then we have articulation down here in the boot, and it's just a peg that is attached to a hinge in the front here, so not your usual rounded hinge, ball hinge. And toe articulation goes up that far. And that is the sum. Oh, wait a minute. It's not the sum total. He's also got wrist articulation. Rounded hinges in the wrists. Looks kind of funny how the arm kind of goes over the gloves too, doesn't it? Now this side, I'm wondering, will it have less than the other? You know what? This little wrist gauntlet doesn't make that much of a difference. All right, so that is the sum total of his articulation. Not super impressive, if I'm being honest, but, you know, I honestly don't care that much. So what do I think of this Bane figure? Honestly, I know that he is definitely missing some of the articulation points that a lot of you folks, and even I myself, enjoy using while we're posing our figures around, but honestly, I don't really care at this point. I think that he's got enough articulation for what I'm going to use him for. In comparison here, next to the Storm Collectibles Bane, I mean, he might as well be a statue. But with the DC superheroes on the other side, well, he's, you know, he's looking pretty good in comparison to that guy, isn't he? And he's not stuck in that weird stance. I know that maybe some of you folks at home may disagree, but I think for those of us who collect multiverse figures and really appreciate what Todd is doing for the DC Comics action figure collecting community, I think we're probably, a lot of us, going to be on the same page that this is probably overall, at least in my opinion, the best overall Bane figure that has been made. Anyway, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching today. It means a lot to me, and I will see you with the next one. Have a DC day, everybody, and take care.